Meet Owen Messere. He's played millions of hands of online poker, recently winning 680,000 and the trophy in the first ever Cash Game World Championship. He doesn't shy away from the cameras either, and has also tested himself against the best players on the live felt. Across the table from him today may well be his toughest opponent yet. A man known online as AsianFlushie, and this man has balls. He boasts the most hands of high-stakes heads-up no limit of any player in poker history. Flushie is now living the high life, but still battles the top players at the highest stakes because he loves the challenge and loves the game. In this video, Owen joins me in the studio and shares detailed insights into some of the largest and most interesting pots he played in his recent match against AsianFlushie, plus a bonus hand that Flushie played against Linus, which is one of the most mind-boggling hands I've ever seen. Enjoy.
This sounds like in there a decent amount for free betting, the sort of middling, connected offsuit stuff. Then we get like an okay board.
Do you ever go betting large on this kind of board, or you stick with a small sizing? What's your thinking?
Yeah, so I mean I prefer I'm more familiar with the game tree after playing the small size, and that's because in 6max when you get these boards, they're like slam dunk range bet. I mean you sort of you have to really force the solver to play a strategy other than bet small with entire range. In 6max at least. In heads up it's a bit different. The queen and the jack are sort of more the callers cards than the free betters cards. And it's like queen jack off, queen 10 off, jack 10 off are all pure calling, but the free better is going to have like slightly trashier hands, but like in position can still have like king queen and ace jack and stuff like that. So yeah, you don't get to bet your entire range, but I'm just very used to how the sort of game tree plays after a small c bet on these sort of boards, even though thresholds and everything will be very different. So yeah, I go for a small c bet, but not with full range.
Now
Then
what?
like turn this. You need like at least ace jack to consider barreling. Even that's low frequency, but yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it
my
for
hand
you?
just
Is it
easy.
only barrel in some sort of way that you can get it all in on the river, or would you have some sort of other sizing here as well?
No, there's not much point in splitting here. Um, yeah, you just can't. There's not much equity which you really need to deny. Like betting small with a jack to try and get them to fold a random ace five of hearts isn't that big a deal. You don't mind those hands realizing equity, they only have 3 outs. And then if you want to bet thinner than a jack, it's really thin. Try and put more money in with a 7. So yeah, it's gonna bet the stack of hands only.
So you check. He comes in pretty strong here, and yeah, what are you thinking? Is there any shot you can fold a jack? Is it just
No, definitely can't fold a jack. I mean, we can fold some pairs, but it's gonna be like the board pairs, and then I mean maybe you can fold a deuce sometimes or a really bad 7. And by really bad, I don't just mean as a
I
kick.
mean 10-7 or whatever?
Yeah. The 10-7 is going to be the worst one, but even then, it's like it's pretty. It's pretty tight. Like we've see that a lot of hands for a small size, and then we check. It's a decently sized bet, but we've got so many folds with weaker hands that folding board pairs is kind of pushing it.
Would you let go of pocket nines here straight up, or
Oh yeah. The pocket pairs are way worse.
you just have
Yeah,
to fold them?
yeah. The pocket
Even
pairs
pocket
just suck.
eights.
So they just they block bluffs. They basically never improve. Yeah, no blockers to value that speak of. Yeah, they're not great.
Okay. So we call, and then I mean it looks like a pretty bad river. Is there any
Yeah.
chance you want to come out kind of clicking on on this card, or not with your hand, or any thoughts about leading the river?
Yeah. I think I'm supposed to do something. Um, I wasn't entirely sure how much leading I wanted to do in game. I remember looking this one up, but I don't remember exactly how much there was. But yeah, there is some leading. Like hands like Ace King can call the turn. I can also just have rivered. I mean, I think even ace 10 is pretty reasonable to call. Also, I have like ace jack. I can have ace 7, ace deuce. Um, so yeah, I improve a decent amount. Well, in position, not quite hitting it as often. So yeah, I do get to do some leading here, but I mean, yeah, not like this hand. There's no decision. It's
Yeah.
always yeah, and then we face the shove, and yeah, it's not a very exciting spot. You got third pair and someone's putting your whole stack in, but at the same time, we have a lot of these kind of hands, and we can't just go fold all of them. Otherwise you just get run over here, and I think that I was thinking he's probably gonna mostly want to avoid bluffing diamonds if he can. He'll bluff them sometimes, but yeah, he's gonna mostly try to avoid bluffing diamonds, and he'll sometimes have like ace 8 with the 8 of diamonds in his value range. It's gonna like float the flop, and then the turn it'll be a pretty decent hand to stab with the 1 diamond, even if it has showdown. It would be kind of reasonable to go for it there. And then yeah, on river, um, it's like it's a little bit close, but you have a river top pair. I mean, it sort of depends how much of the leading I'm finding. I mean, even if I don't lead, it wouldn't be outrageous to jam. And then if I am finding leads, it starts to feel like a pretty good jam to me. But yeah, I mean, it's a very minor blocker consideration, but most of the blockers aren't really going to be up to much, other than I really don't want a non-diamond 9. A 10 could be okay, because at least that'll block some king 10 combos. But the 9 feels really bad. King 9, 10 9, like 9 8 are all could all be in there, and especially the 10 9 is like full offsuit, 16 combos. Yeah, I just really don't want. But yeah, this felt kind of like a slightly positive kicker to have. And yeah, so as I said, I need to call down some of these Queen X, Jack X, 7X hands. This one felt like one of the better ones.
Did you roll in game, or you just thought good side card, probably have to call?
I can't remember because it's been a while since we played. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
fair enough.
I'd be lying if I said I knew for certain. Um, I mean, yeah, like this one would be reasonable to just pure call and like let rid of the ones with worse side cards, but sometimes I'll just try and roll a frequency for the hand class. Um, yeah, I feel like this. Yeah, I have a feeling I just flicked this one in, thinking it was thinking this was a spot where yeah, it's going to be like slightly positive blockers for both the jack and the 8. I think it's just enough. Yeah, and
Makes
he
sense.
he has the 10-9, which is well, what I was saying earlier about how I want to try and unblock 10-9. And so because a lot of my bluff catching is based on unblocking 10-9 because he has it so often, when he does have 10-9, he's supposed to give it up quite often. Because like if you
Suited
have
though.
16 combos of a hand, it's quite easy for that hand to become your whole bluffing range to be centered on it. Um, so yeah, this is like I mean it's quite a good one to see when you make a catch and you see one of the hands which is supposed to give up at quite a high frequency.
Yeah, Silver's funny, right? Like, if he's supposed to give this up, it's because he wants you to have a 10 or a 9, so you fold.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of a leveling war, though, even in Silverland.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, and you can you can mess about with these things to some extent, but also he's sort of bounded by how the earlier streets play. That 10-9 is just going to be in there so often. Um, So it'll end up bluffing sometimes. It's not like this is a big mistake by him by any means. He could have even rolled just a very low frequency and hit it.
And
But
suited
yeah,
combos
those.
tend to be more aggro, right? In these kind of spots where you have a bunch of offsuit. Or am I misremembering how this game works?
So what do you mean?
Like you said, he has all 10-9 offsuit. This is 10-9
Yeah.
suited.
Oh yeah, I mean sometimes there's sometimes there's differentiation between suited versus offsuit ones.
Yeah, I remember they're usually more aggro, but it could also just be
I
totally wrong.
mean, yeah, there's I mean, that being said, I don't know if yeah, I don't know. Like maybe you don't want hearts here though, because like maybe Queen 10 of suited is one of my snap calls. I mean, I'm not sure. You can really go into the weeds with this stuff.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, I try not to get too focused
Oh, that's a cool
on
hand, man. Cool hand.
yeah.
See what else we got. We got a king 3, pocket 4s. I remember you wanted to neuter yourself on the pocket 4s a bit. Maybe we'll try.
Oh yeah, no,
Maybe
the
we'll
pocket
try
fours
this
one
one.
can't go.
You
Pocket
think
fours
you
can't go.
just can't even talk about it? Let's watch it through one time. Because you could always just summarize things in a different way.
And there's no way to talk about this hand, honestly. Like,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
No worries. Or we got the 9-6. The 9-6 was fun. Remember this
Yeah,
one?
the 9-6 is fun. 9-6.
Do you want to just run through it, or do you want to have a quick watch and think if there's something you don't want to mention here?
Yeah, no, I know what I don't want to talk.
All right, well then why don't we'll just start it, and you lead the charge the whole way then, and I'll try not to ask extremely specific questions that you don't want to answer.
Yeah.
All right, I'll hit play.
Kicking this one off with me missing I think this is a pure free bet, because I went to look this one up afterwards
Really?
and there was no 9-6 suited. Yeah. I thought it was like in there quite a bit, but there was some flying. I mean, it depends, these things can be very sensitive, but I remember looking this one up afterwards and being like, oh, okay. It's never supposed to have it. But obviously I had 9-6 off and that will be the same hand functionally post. But yeah, I mean just facing this, standard line would be mostly to call. But occasionally going to do a bit of protection raising, just fold out some overcards, and that was what I went for here.
Out of interest, would you rather check raise 9-6 or 9-7, or how different do you think the frequency of raising either of those hands would be?
I mean, kind of difficult to say because 9-6 is going to have slightly better, it has a marginally better backdoor straight, but then 9-7 has these marginal scenarios where you win against their 9-6, so you benefit a bit more from bloating the pot. So yeah, I mean it's a bit pretty hard to put a preference on between those two hands.
Yeah, fair enough. A pretty interesting turn. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, so this is to be pretty good turn for when you raise the flop and the 7-6 comes in. We'll sometimes have a bit of ace deuce. We can have some 6 deuce as well. And even if I don't have those hands, and I haven't like hit, I will often have hands like this, which have some connection, which have picked up more equity, or even some 2 club hands or whatever, or maybe I'll have like a Jack 6 of hearts hand, which has gone from just being a flush draw to a combo draw. So yeah, this is usually favoring me. Turn card which I get to be quite aggressive on.
Okay.
Yeah, and like my hand, you could go into check call mode if you want with this hand, but it's still a very strong hand. Like there's going to be some difficult rivers to play when you do this, um, because yeah, I am like bloating the pot with just a very mediocre top pair, but at the same time, if we get away from the just sort of linear showdown value of the hand. think about it. If you're thinking about this more like a PLO player, this is a pretty this is a pretty strong hand. It's just a bit unintuitive from no limit standpoint. I think this is what people in the old days would have thought of as just like a polarization error.
Yeah, so
Um,
is it
yeah.
basically just because he's got so many hands that have to call that are weaker?
Yeah, yeah, and it's like even when we're beat, even when we're up against an overpair, we're far from dead. Um, so yeah, it's like there's a little bit going on both ends. It's like either I'm ahead of something and I'm pushing equity that way, or like I'm behind but not by that much, or maybe I'm ahead but I'm against a hand which has quite a few outs. Like I don't know if he had two overs and a heart which floated the flop, and we now get to clean those up as well. Uh, so yeah, there's like a lot of reasons why this hand wants to put money in, but none of them neatly fall into like value betting. Um, yeah.
Oh, cool. He's gonna call, and you enjoy two pair on the river.
Yeah. Yeah, quite an interesting river. Um,
Do you
Everything
have
filling up.
like shoves and blocks and checks, and like how do you
Yeah,
approach this
yeah. So
spot?
this is the kind of spot where there's going to be a lot of blocking and then some shoving. Um, but yeah, I feel like this hand is a pretty clear block. And then if I have a 7, I'll just have to do a bit of both. I'll very occasionally have a deuce, and that might be a weird hand where like a deuce might be worth more than a block, but not quite an all-in. Maybe I could see a deuce being the sort of a strange hand which kind of wants to play a vacuum size, but you don't. I would imagine even the solver might just play some vacuum size where you bet like 10k or something and leave 3k behind. Um, but yeah, I feel like that stuff is really really hard to
It seems
do with any.
dangerous to me to try that kind of stuff because then how do you end up balancing enough bluffs into that sizing, you know?
Yeah, yeah. The skill is not finding the size with the deuce. The skill is remembering that you play this vacuum size when you don't have the hand, and that's really fucking hard to do. I mean, some people will do it and they'll level it and they'll play like these very specific vacuum sizes as to look really strong as a bluff. But I personally prefer to give that a bit of keep a bit of distance from from those sort of plays and play something which is a bit more concrete.
Yeah, I mean, being balanced always seems like a better place to be than taking these risks. But I mean, it's cool, if you can be the guy who can do both. I mean, pretty sweet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, also, yeah, there's plenty of room there's plenty of room to make adjustments within a game tree which doesn't necessarily turn its hand face up regularly, right? I think you can do plenty of stuff without incorporating those weird sizes. Um,
Are you gonna block?
yeah, yeah. No, I
How do you
remember
pick
this.
a block size out of interest when it comes to blocking?
I just have standardized sizes. Just
Okay.
have like this like 25 is very typically my block size. There will be exception spots, but like those are definitely in the minority. Where I do.
And I guess it's also worth discussing his call.
Yeah. Because I remember, because I looked this up, and his call is well, actually, it's not completely torching, to be fair, but it is losing to bluffs. Because I at the time I was thinking, I was like, am I super off in this spot? Because I had a feeling that I'm supposed to bluff the river 6 quite often. Um, just thinking that so many of my check raises are based around
Turn
having
gut
3
shots
to
or
the
open
straight.
enders. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either going to be a draw or it's going to be a backdoor, which is in some way 3 to the straight. And so then it's either going to be like a 7 or a 6 or sometimes a 3, but the 3 is um it would often be clubs or like two hearts or like ace three, and like sure those hands can be in there. I could barrel them on the turn. I don't have to check them just because they have some showdown. But yeah, I was thinking that I'd have to bluff a six sometimes. And yeah, I am supposed to bluff a six sometimes, and if you're losing to a six, it's a I don't know, it's about like minus 10 BB or something. Because I tried to bluff all the non-showdown first, but you do run out of non-showdown. Um,
When you say you try to
yeah.
bluff the non-showdown first, how does that play for you with missed hearts or clubs? How, like, which
Well,
of those would you be choosing to bluff over the rivered six, for example?
I mean, typically the backdoor flush draw is slightly better, because they will have, every two heart combo will call the flop raise, but not every two club combo will.
Right, and some hands with
Um,
like one heart, I guess,
yeah,
as
well,
well.
yeah, I mean, like my my main hand, which um is gonna barrel the turn and not get there, is gonna be 8-6 with a heart. That's like because everything else is sort of fractional. Um, Whereas like the problem is that 8-6 with a heart is so often the bluff I get here with, that even though I want to use all the other stuff more, all the other stuff appears at quite a low frequency. Um, so yeah, the 8-6 combo is pretty. Yeah, I just have to take it sometimes. And then yeah, if you're losing to that, not really a decision. I think I think he might have just felt that I wasn't gonna bluff the six, but he thought there was still just enough air, or maybe something where he thought I would like barrel through with a three, or because he did tank for quite a while. I imagine it occurred to him that this might lose to a bluff here, and I guess or he might have just made the judgment that he thought I was gonna over bluff anyway, um, which is possible. Um,
Feels like a tough spot to overbluff. Like, unless you're going ham with every flush draw and backdoor flush draw.
yeah, I mean you can make spots easier to over bluff if you underplay though. Because it would be easy for me to miss some blocks for value because some of them are going to look kind of scary on the four straight board. I feel like this one looks quite intuitive, but some of the thinner two pairs feel a bit scary to go for the block. And then if I don't shove a seven and I only block a seven, then my overall allowance starts coming down even more. Because you don't get to have that many bluffs in a block bet size, right? Even if you don't have to start with. But if I'm never shoving a seven, then
Got too much value.
yeah, then yeah, like even though there's not much air, I would still have to give up some of it. I imagine his thought process was somewhere along those lines for why he flicked this in. But yeah, I mean, it's not. This is the kind of call which I would. I mean, I would probably just like snap fold this and move on. And then if I wanted to, um, maybe it does take a second to work out whether you do actually lose the bluffs or not. But I felt like the second I saw it in game, I had a feeling that this was too far.
Yeah, interesting one. It's kind of an old school fuck you info call from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it. Although I still can't really, to be honest, I can't think of a hand that he beats. I really can't.
I think Ace three is the only one
Ace three.
which I really
Yeah.
see, but he has an ace, like, and it's like. Yeah, Ace three is the high frequency one, and then sometimes I'll have like double high card hearts or something. But
Really? You just got King Jack. I mean, you can't have that pre.
no,
You've
not
got,
those ones,
what
but
do you have? King
like
eight of
10-8.
hearts.
Well, not even 10-8. Yeah, it has to be like King 8 of hearts exactly, Queen 8 of hearts. Have those two
So
combos.
disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, or he maybe fought 3x of hearts.
I think if you rocked up with any six on the river, you would have bluffed 100% of them. That's what I think.
It would have been really funny to actually win this one with bluff.
That would have been
'Cause,
sick, yeah.
But what size did I bet on the river? I bet like 16 bigs.
You bet.
No, 19 bigs.
Okay.
Okay, and then and the hand is a -10 BB call, remember, which is pretty bad EV wise on a 19 big blind bet. You know, the worst we can get to is -19 bigs. So it's a -10 BB call, which means it's supposed to, yeah, it's losing to a lot of the bluffs. Yeah, pretty out there. I mean, I guess he must have just like misestimated that and thought it's not losing to the bluffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't want to read too much into it because we're probably just completely wrong. But if he's the kind of guy, this is where projection comes into play. If he's the kind of guy who would take showdown with the six and not block it, that could be what he's kind of telling you here. Like he wouldn't bluff a six.
Yeah,
Therefore,
I don't think that's Flushy though. Flushy's very
I know
creative.
he's always
Yeah,
finding lots of
his
bluffs. So.
I'd say on on rivers especially, he's definitely
He's probably just seen you stabbing a bunch of bluffs for the small sizing and figures it's part of like what makes you successful. So he's just kind of trying to find out what you got.
yeah,
Because if
could
you
be.
just show up here with like some random flush draw, or even some like single heart hand that blasted the turn somehow.
It's hard though. Like,
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's an
was
info
it?
call, mate. Info call.
I'm like, yeah,
You got the info.
wasn't this on a show table?
That's true,
Info
but
call.
it's still
Come
it's an
on,
old school
man.
way to get the info, man. This show table
Yeah.
shit. This for the new kids.
4K 4K info call on a show table. That's a new one, right?
Yeah, I'll have to ask him what he was thinking in this hand at some point. All right, so that was the 9-6. I enjoyed that. We've got a 4-bet pot. We've got the bonus hand, so you remember that one. I think we got to do that one. It's just too cool.
Oh yeah, let's not do the 4-bet pots, but let's do the Linus.
Not do the 4-bet pot. What was the 4-bet pot?
See, one of them just wasn't that interesting. This is one which I think just wasn't that interesting.
No, this is super interesting because we see like multi-check line, and then you kind of go face up for a queen, right?
I mean, this is very like, okay, we have very pure lines with both our hands. I mean, I guess we can do it.
I guess no. This is just my perspective. To me, this was interesting because I expected like a range bet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, well, you can range bet this if you want to, but he plays a size where you don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah,
We can give it a miss.
but like, once he doesn't range bet, the hand is very automatic.
Okay. There's some sort of you punted us ace king hand, right? I think you're gonna have to revisit the toilet here, mate. Doing a quick look first?
Yeah, I remember this one.
Out of interest, if you recall, the sim output was ace king off king of clubs taking your line?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And 2 spades is no.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I can talk about this one though.
No, what's the problem? Just say that you're a fish and you spewed it off.
Yeah, I think. But like, there's a reason you use the king of clubs and not ace king of spades.
Yeah, I know. Funnily enough, I remember this from Ring like a million years ago. It was like blind v blindament, playing aggro in this spot. The offsuit king, the offsuit queen with these ace king, ace queen high hands.
Yeah,
flush
I was
draw
thinking
boards.
maybe
Value jam.
Yeah, I just feel like the interesting part of that hand is not something I want to talk about.
No problem.
The line is.
No problem. Well, we got this king 3, mate. You're gonna have to talk about whatever this is. I can't remember it.
The king.
You got king 3. It's good.
Yeah.
What goes on here? Okay, you got nothing, mate. You got fuck all. Okay, check. Good
as
job.
as all good hands start.
All right, you got a draw. Maybe tell us a little bit about this. So this flush draw just has too much showdown value to bet. What's your thinking? Or is there some sort of a split? Do you ever overbet lead this card? Like, what's your sizing here?
No, not wanting to overbet on. I mean, it wouldn't be insane. You can do a fair few plenty of probing. Wouldn't be unreasonable to overbet, but when someone checks back this board and the bottom card pairs, they make quite a few trips. And we don't really have, I mean, we still have full range. So even though we have all the trips, we have everything else as well. And the 4 is like low enough that we're not really making high frequency trips as the big blind, but the opener still does. By that I mean that like they open Queen 4 off and Jack 4 off, but we don't defend them.
Yep.
Or like, I mean, this is rakeless, so Queen 4 off is in there at mix. But yeah, it does make a bit of a difference there. And like also King High's just a lot of showdown here, so not gonna really want to be burning that showdown too often. If I did not flush draw, then at that point you're sort of almost merged value betting. Yeah, if you have something like Ace 7 of diamonds here, then you can get called by a worse ace. You can get called by like naked King Queen, King Jack. Worse flush draws, and you can just check down and win against them on river. But I feel
what
like the
sizing
king
though? Sorry, would you go for on the turn if you did bet?
Some sort of medium size, maybe a B40 could work. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, check. This hand will get more interesting soon, though.
Yeah.
So what
Very
about it?
suddenly.
What about just a bluff on the river here?
I think King High is just too much to like when the board runs out like this. And no money's gone in. It's quite different. Yeah, if you get the same board and I call the small C bet, King High's already a lot more marginal as a check down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when no money's gone in here, he's still going to be attempting to show down his own King High no kickers that I chop with. A hand like Queen Jack, Queen 9 is going to be checking down for real EV against my just pure give ups in this spot. So yeah, King 3 has some real showdown by checking.
You're gonna let him win the pot with Queen 9 high.
I mean, yeah, sometimes you have to have some pure give ups in these spots.
Give me an example of a pure give up.
So you have like
Jack 9?
Jack deuce of clubs.
Jack 2 a club. Check. River drops. No relevant card.
Maybe even
Respect.
Yeah, that. Yeah, you just like when the board pairs. When the board pairs, oftentimes is out of position. You just have to do. Well. You often generally in these check down free lines have to do like a little bit of giving up with 0% hands. It's not that much. But it is in there at like some frequency. Yeah, I could even, I could check down my own Queen 9 against his Queen 9, so, yeah.
Alright, so you check your king and your 3. Good job. And he comes out in the river and he says, what does he say? Decode this pot size river bet for me. What's he telling you?
Yeah, I mean, so this is, I mean, to me, this feels like about Jack 7 plus. I think any 7 with a kick is reasonable here. Yeah, just very little money has gone in. So even though the pot is typically kind of a polar size, just because no bets have gone in.
He can't have 6s here, in your opinion?
I mean, he could have 6s. I would say 6s is sort of starting to be more towards the value trick end of this. Well, I would definitely bet them, but more like a B66 with that sort of hand. Yeah, I think doing this with even like a 7 no kicker is kind of, that might be pushing it. Depending on how my checking range is constructed, it might not be unreasonable though. Yeah, although the more I look at this, the more it's like, well, what are you trying to beat in order to pot? And the main hand you probably want to beat is like Ace 5.
If you face this line with Ace high, you're gonna fold mostly, or?
We definitely need to do some Ace high defending against this. I mean, yeah, versus the pot, like maybe we can fold most of them. Although I'm not even that there'll be non-linear defending. Like this hand is gonna make a pretty decent call. Um, and some maybe a hand like ace nine, but with like a bad suit on the nine is not gonna be as good a call. But yeah, I think ace and king highs are generally gonna be indifferent here. Like they'd be folding with if pocket deuces, pocket threes are no good. If I check them on the river, if I don't go for the block bet, um, then yeah, just check folding. But yeah,
Okay.
got to do some defending with these
So he's
type of
repping a
hands.
7. Is there any way that he checks back twice with a 10?
Yeah, he could. It's just this is honestly kind of underplayed for a 10. If you know, like
It's so underplayed. You
yeah.
could go
So
for
so it's
3 here.
like you could you could you could bet a 10 here as him for like B66, get check raised, and then you snap it off because you're ahead of the value. But then if he pots it, it's a bit like it's a bit strange where he's going to a size where if he has like a good 10 and then he pots it and then he sort of stops me going for a check raise. If I did go for that play and then he pots, then maybe it's getting too thin. It's so like it's so hard to say. I'm so used to the anti thresholds these days as well. Two weeks of that game and I've forgotten how to play non-anti. Um,
I wonder if the viewers in the audience are thinking that we're going to make a cool hero call here and be right. Or if they're putting you on the monster check raise.
that would be what people would assume is happening given the theme of the video, where it's all been hands where I've made a great read. But no, no, not
Yeah,
at all.
so why do you decide to pounce with this hand and why this much money?
Um, yeah. So I was thinking that this hand makes a pretty reasonable call, and I think most of the hands which have a pair are just gonna be like I'm either gonna lead them out for value myself, or they're gonna be ahead of this range. Like if I have ace seven, I mean, I'm ace five would probably be a pretty legit check raise bluff hand if I had it. Which might be might be in this range, but yeah, I think I have to do my bluffs need to come from some unpaired hands. Um, yeah, just imagine just thinking that any pair is worth a value bet. And then this one seems kind of on the decent side, like three. I mean, I'm not entirely convinced it's an amazing. It's an amazing bluffing candidate. Like I'm mostly trying to use the fact that it's unblocking a lot of his bluffs, just assuming that he would often have gone and bluffed a flush draw earlier in the hand. So then the thought is, okay, well, I have a flush draw in this check down line. This is like it's more likely he has some auto fold. And then in terms of blocking his actual calling hands, it's really hard to block his calling hands. Because his calling hands are going to be a mix of like loads of different kickers. Although the reason I say I'm not entirely convinced that this was the right hand to do it is I think there is value to having an 8/6 blocker. Because yeah, he can definitely have 8/6 at real frequency. He can have some 6/3. In fact, the only 6/3 he's definitely not going to have is 6/3 of diamonds. But 8/6 is 16 offsuit combos from pre, and even though it's a gutter, it could reasonably check back twice. So I think on reflection, I should probably have been using a bit more like king six, king eight sort of hands. Um, but I don't think it's a massive deal. Um, yeah, I just, but yeah, like taking this might be a small theorem mistake, but I don't think it's that.
Yeah, the pot's not going to win itself.
bad.
Gotta try.
Yeah, yeah.
But he sniffs you out with a King 7.
Yeah, he sniffs me out with the King 7. Nice hand from him.
Any comment on the particular choice of hand that he calls with, or do you think it's just kind of like he knows he has to call sometimes with a 7, so he's just figuring out how often kind of deal?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those spots where, okay, like he will occasionally have rivered top range, but the vast majority of his value bets are way weaker than the rivered bow or like the rivered ray or some random trap trips. Um, so even though I'm going pretty big, he still needs to do some defending with these hands. Um, he also might have just like "fuck you" called me and been like, just thought to himself that I'm over bluffing. Um, it's hard to say exactly which side the thought process came from. Like this combo would, it doesn't raise too many alarm bells to me. And I know we were talking about the idea of like the king maybe being part of my bluffing range. But yeah, I just think King 4 and Ace 4 are the main value hands as well. So even though I'm bluffing King and Ace highs, I think it's kind of just whatever between the kickers. If you have a blocker to the value, you're going to have a blocker to the bluffs here. For the most part, yeah, because I don't think I have 8-6 that often. It's not like having an 8 is actually too helpful for him. It might even block some of my bluffs. Yeah, the way I was talking about it. Just because I think 8-6 is going to want to stab the turn mostly. It can do little bits of other lines, but it's mostly just going to have to lead out the turn. So yeah, with that in mind, yeah, I think his call's kind of reasonable. Bit of a fuck you call for him to get me back. But yeah, nice
He's
hand.
a field player, bro. He felt it.
Yeah.
I like
Field
railing
players have feelings.
flushy hands.
Sometimes they're good.
Yeah, he's never down and out. He's always got a chance to click the right button. So yeah, speaking of flushy and hands that he plays, this one was very interesting, and I know you've seen it before now, but maybe just take us through whatever you want to discuss about this hand.
This one's fucking wild.
This is a very
Kind of so
interesting
fucking
hand.
wild.
A bonus hand for the viewers.
Yeah, it's played with anti as well. I think just so
true.
that people don't. So there's actually like 800 more in there, and also the pre-flop is way wider. But yeah,
yeah. So it's
check
less of
raise
a large
fairly
raise
standard.
relative. There is that $800 you mentioned in the pot, so it's 2.8k pot. It's a
I mean,
very
the check
small
raise is kind of
c-bet
legit
considering
here,
that.
but yeah, what is it? It's like
I don't see
it's like
Flushy
20,
doing this stuff
it's like
normally.
20%.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I didn't see Flushy doing this too often.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
in
mean,
the
it's probably
anti-mint he was just flicking in the min-bet stuff.
yeah, maybe. Kind of.
Anyway, so Linus hits him with the check raise. Flushy comes back with the re-raise.
Yeah, on a 0% free bet board.
And Linus, in response to that, do you think Linus knows that this is a non-3-bet spot?
Yeah, I mean, this is so obvious. No free bet, I think. Yeah.
What would you do if you got 3-bet in a spot where it's not supposed
Well,
to get
yeah.
3-bet?
See, that's the thing. That's the thing. You have to know the answer. I say it's like obviously no free bet, but that doesn't mean there's no merit to free betting. There's definitely there's a lot of pressure on you as the other player to actually know what you're doing, because you're gonna have all of these draws which you need to continue, and then also you have all of your value hands, and you don't want to just entirely play them passively, but you also don't want to have a very face-up calling range where it's only your finished value bets and like only your draws. So it's quite difficult to deal with this if you're not used to it. Which I imagine it's why Flusher goes into it. Just wants to pose those problems to people, see if they know the answers.
Well, yeah, they do have 80k hands of heads-up experience against each other specifically. So I'm sure they're just offered their own world of like old school merged to new school kind
Yeah,
of heads-up
they're
poker.
so deep. Although that being said, Flushie was doing stuff like this to me in the challenge, and we barely ever played. Like we've been playing for 2 days, and he was getting into these insane wars with me, and I was like, okay, that's how it's gonna be then. Let's go.
The Linus decides it's not really a click, but I'm not sure if you know this. There's sort of like a bug with the
Yeah.
software where
Oh
you
no, I'm well aware of this.
yeah.
It's actually quite interesting. It's actually it really annoys Davey because Davey loves min clicking people. And so, and then but it ruins his ability to click for you because because he clicks, and then if you click him back, and basically Flushie would have to go all in here, right? Um, you can't. You so yeah, if you have complete air, you either have to float them, or you can't get involved in the leveling war. You have to stay out and play play more reasonable ranges, which some people really don't like.
So Flushie does peel. And then if you 4-bet a flop as Linus with bottom 2 pair and the top card repeats, you're not really loving it, I guess. But I mean, I guess you're not also hating it, right? It means it's less likely your opponent had a value hand too. I mean, but how often is a guy going to 3-bet the flop with an open-ended straight draw or a gut shot? Or
I mean, this is just hell for you.
very weird one.
It's
What would you do with the
yeah.
Jack 3? Would you just like block it on the turn? As played?
No,
Or...
I'd be checking.
Okay, so you check.
My instinct would just be to check a lot. Just thinking that my Queen Jack and Queen 3 combos are now blocked, and my Jack 3 is counterfeit. So we've lost a lot of value hands. So I think our range on the whole needs to do a lot of slowing down. Yeah, like this is the kind of hand strength where if you're betting it quite often, the reason you'd be betting it is because your range as a whole is crushing, and I don't think that's true here.
Okay. Good analysis. So he checks it. Flushie flicks in. What is that? 18% or something. Less than 20%.
Yeah.
Linus
Yeah,
comes in for a min raise. The
this
clicking
is
war's not done.
yeah, and it again happens where Flushy can't click him back. If because I mean obviously we can see Linus's hand here, but there's a chance that this is like pure air versus air play that's being made into you if you're flushing, right? If you sit here with like your king 9 or whatever, or even like he could even have weaker than that, which he just floated the flop because he thought Linus was full of shit. Yeah, you can't play back. You sort of just have to call and then hope Linus gives up, which I think makes the river really interesting. Um, because yeah, I remember this in like Linus jams, right, and Flushy folds, and it made me think. See, I was thinking about this more because I was wondering what Flushy folded. I was like, there's a pretty decent chance that Flushy just had a really out there float where he was just hoping Linus would run out of steam somewhere and he can pick up the pot. Not necessarily what's happening, but if you have an open ender on the turn, it's it's quite reasonable to check back and just take your equity at that point. I mean, not necessarily. You could stab it, but
Well, you're up against a full house pretty often, I think, when you hold an open ender in a 4-bet flop line on a pairing turn.
yeah. So it's like, but if you bet and get min raised, you kind of still have to continue them.
Yeah.
So you're sort of there's a lot of
I don't think too many people expect to get min raised when they stab
yeah.
20%
I
on
mean,
the
but
turn.
then this is obviously I feel like he knew that was a possibility here.
Yeah. I mean,
given who he's playing and all their
assuming
history.
Flushy didn't fold kings or aces, it's kind of interesting that Linus doesn't check call the river with this instead of shoving it himself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it definitely is quite interesting.
Do you think Flushy would fold aces or kings, like given how this hand played out, getting fucking 6 to
I
1 or
would,
whatever?
yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Um, yeah, I get the impression Linus was bluffing with the best hand, but maybe. And also, it's like the odds are so good that even if Flushy just occasionally decides that he's gonna fold them, then it can be plus EV. And there's also that there's some other things going on as well as a part of this where we're in a really rogue line, and one of the reasonable sort of hand classes to like click back and then call the four bet with would be like a random jack. Because oftentimes the stuff which clicks back is more sort of
Bottom
blocker
pair.
based on the flop rather than being draw based. So he could have free bet him with a random jack and then called the four bet. And so maybe there's some like random float which tried to clean up equity on turn, called, and then just like threw in the towel on river. Like that, those hands could be in there. I mean, I spent a long time thinking about this hand actually. It just like comes up every now and then, and that was something which is also a possibility in these lines that like Flushy's kind of floating to steal with a hand which actually beats Jack 3. That being said, it's kind of obvious you beat a bluff if you have Jack 6 or whatever. And if you have Jack 6, it's like,
He's not folding it, man.
yeah, I
I
mean
think
that
there's more
hand's got to
chance he
be a
folds
better call than
kings.
kings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to be a better. I don't know. This hand really confuses me.
This hand was
Um,
sick to watch live. I remember watching it.
yeah, this is really wild. This is really wild. God, I really wish I knew what plus we had. If he folded kings, I mean, I don't want to be that results-oriented guy, but if he folded kings, this is such an all-time hand.
Nah, I mean, I actually know what he had.
Oh.
He told me what he had. I don't think he would care. He had 10-9. So I think Linus missed making this an epic hand. Because if he check min raise the fucking turn.
Yeah.
Imagine this line. He check
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
min raise
yeah.
the
He
turn, juices the
check
pot to
calls.
the max, and then he reps that he just has a bluff that's giving up now. He checks it.
Yeah, check calls
Flushy
through.
obviously
Yeah.
jams fucking range. Linus, cool. I got Jack 3, mate. Go on. Counterfeit
Yeah.
bottom 2, check min raise turn, check call river. 4-bet flop.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
That would have been
That would have been
insane.
amazing.
Oh my god, that would have been so good. Yeah, that makes. Yeah, okay. I'm glad I know that because I had a feeling that Linus had got this a bit imprecise on the river.
I mean, they're out there anyway.
Yeah, but just it's not miles off, but
I just don't think
yeah,
Flushy's the kind of dude who calls kings or folds kings or aces.
it's just yeah.
Also, they're
And
kind of weird turn steps. I guess they're interesting, right? Like, because Linus could have, he's always got at least something connected to the board when he 4-bets on flop, right? So then to stab this sizing on turn, you put Linus, the man who loves to make plays, into a spot where he has something that he could make a play with, you know? Like, whether it's bottom pair or a gut shot or an open ender or even this hand.
Yeah, I wonder.
It could be interesting to stab the kings as Flushy, but I would imagine people can just check it back as well. It's SPR 2/3 pot.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, it's so suicidal to shove this hand versus deck because Linus is wrapping a boat. But if you think you're being fucked with, but obviously 10-9 can't call down, So if you think you're being fucked with, the one way to make sure that you don't lose the pot like that is to get all in first. So Flushy has like a weird incentive to do that, but then Linus might be like, this makes
That's
no
so
sense for a
face up.
value hand.
Yeah.
Jack 3 beats whatever you're fucking around with. It's so this is so weird. I mean, this is why way out in the Wild West when someone like 3-bets this board and then like every single hand is a complete guess whether it's in the range or not. But yeah, no, that's
It's
such
old school poker, man. So tell us, Mr. Prodigy, what's next for you, man? What's on the cards?
Mostly been I've been enjoying playing some heads up, been playing some live. Yeah, I'm a little bit burned out on the 6 max days, so been giving But yeah, I mean, hopefully, hopefully, Coin gets the Heads Up World Championship going, and then yeah, I'll have another Rolex for
Yeah.
my other wrist.
I've been shopping the ideas around a bit. There's been some people in, some people out. As you predicted, I mean, I don't want to explain the whole thing on this video, but as you predicted, some of the big guys aren't going to be in for playing this sort of steak mix festival.
Yep. Yep.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, like a lot of the big guys aren't going to be in anyway, and then it's like, how many people want to play like 40k, for X thousand hands? Not everyone, So I think
Very few
I
people.
think opening it up, including more people, making 10k the highest stake, I think it's all pretty reasonable stuff, honestly. And I think if the right people get
Yeah.
into a match, they could just play higher anyway, for the fans, if they want to.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the problem
Whatever.
of, it's if someone like Linus doesn't want to have to grind 2k just because the other guy won't crossbook with him. But yeah, no, that'd be.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I think Linus is a wild card, and if there's something running, I think he might just play and support it. Exactly. He might just want to win. He knows that there's going to, for what it's worth, Flushie's going to play regardless. He doesn't care about the 2k thing.
Oh, sweet.
So
actually, no, I should be upset. He's probably one of the favorites, right? He might be the favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if you're in, that'll be cool. If Llama would Llama play? What do you think about that? Like the 2k and then steak mix thing.
Oh man, if he plays 2k, if it's 2k, he might play, but very badly. Like he might come last again. Oh man, I can see that.
He's got to fix the rep, You can't come last twice. Not good.
Yeah.
His buddy won the last one. Now it's his turn,
Well, I mean, you'd think that, but that guy is he struggles to take like he calls 5k mid stakes and refuses to play it if someone asks for action there. So so yeah, maybe like 2k might be really pushing it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. It would be cool to find a way to make it higher stakes at the end, but it just doesn't really work. Because if you get some guy in there, like, say you allow 2k in the door, and they're battling, like, whatever, it's not like the dude's tripled his fucking bankroll, like, later in the event,
Yeah.
You can't expect him to be playing 10k or whatever, so it's just really tough. It's whether you let people in or not. And I really would like to see, like, other people coming in and putting, like, some of the coolest, most interesting players into different brackets, so they each have like a chance of creating their own storyline towards the finals, instead of just like every match is already like, okay, this sick dude against that sick dude. I like the idea of like random dudes showing up and trying, and like Decky playing heads up and all this shit.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I'd be I'm down either way. I'd prefer it's higher just because it'll be more exciting, but yeah, I'll get some mental game coaching on on not dusting off, not dusting off 2k, but and then come see what I can do. So, at least I got the excuses ready. If it gets punted, I'll just be like, like stakes too low, like wasn't taking it seriously.
Giving back to the community at least.
Yeah, exactly. Doing my bit for the poker economy. Yeah, I'm a bit of a philanthropist myself.